What is up, guys, and welcome to the penultimate episode of F1 2019 Career Mode. It's just dawned on me that today we can wrap up the championship and take our maiden championship win in this season of Career Mode. It's pretty crazy. I never thought that I'd be in this kind of position, but here we are. Of course, that is best case scenario. Haas have been a dominant force. They have upgraded ever so slightly again heading into this race, but for us, we have also moved forward. We had the major engine power upgrade go on the car, and we also had an increase in front downforce. So overall, the package is somewhat better than what we've had the last few races, so I'm hoping that we can really take the fight to Lucas Weber. I know the title of the video yesterday was taking the fight to Lucas Weber, but that was, us, defending against a much faster driver who we got track position over by virtue of just being a little bit lucky. But today, I'm hoping that we can naturally take the fight to the Haas cars. But we'll wait and see. We had the rear downforce upgrade fail, so unfortunately there will be some slight imbalance with the downforce. So I'll probably have to account for that in the setup this weekend. Maybe go for a little bit more rear downforce than what I was hoping for, but otherwise shouldn't be too much of a concern. We've learned from the mistakes of, other races where the downforce has been a bit, unstable. But anyway, we're getting ready for the qualifying session for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Let's hope the pace is there.
Welcome to qualifying here in Interlagos as the cars are readying up for what's likely to be a very important session.
An important session indeed it is, Crofty. Let's see if we can mix it up with the big guns once again. So, yeah, a major increase in power, so that's certainly going to help us and give us a bit more flexibility with what we can do in terms of the setup. Again, this seems to be a track that, somewhat suits us, a bit like Mexico, so I'm hoping that we can fight it up there with some of the best teams in Formula 1. There's not too many slow-speed corners around this circuit, which I feel like will possibly help us. A lot of high-speed corners, which will play into the strengths of our car, hopefully. But qualifying 1 is one and done. Only did the one run there. I could definitely go a little bit faster, so I'm not too worried about the position of us in qualifying. We did one lap there. It was a 106.8, which is not great. I think you want to be doing low 6s or even into the 5s if you want to be competitive in this field at this stage of the career mode. We knock out a braking marker board to take the esports line. Codemasters need to work on the track in Brazil because that bit of grass there is actually just as grippy as tarmac, and literally that is the esports line because all the esports drivers figured that out on last year's game or the game before for I don't know, qualifying or something. Anyway, yeah, you can abuse the hell out of that part of the circuit, and it's even worse on iRacing. Like, cars literally go all 4 tires off and beyond that because there's no track warnings or track limits there, which is crazy to me. But anyway, yeah, it's funny what you can get away with sometimes if you just push the envelope, I suppose. But pushing the envelope in this session, we improved by 2.5 tenths and sees us through to the next part of qualifying with a 105.9. So a very handy time there from us. Only 1.5 tenths away from the pole setter of Max Verstappen. Thankfully, Lucas Weber, for his sake, he makes it through into the session. The gap's so close. He was only 2 or less than 3 tenths behind, but he was nearly, knocked out in that session once again. We move on to qualifying 3. Again, setting a time initially on a used set of soft compound tires. Now, let's see if we can again get ourselves into the 5s and get ourselves right at the pointy end of this grid to hopefully constrict the flow of points that Haas have been getting at the moment. Williams still the best car. They might be a little bit more challenged in this race given that Haas have moved forward a little bit in the performance index, but I think we made the biggest gains out of anyone coming into this race, so I'm hoping this will be a good round for us. Anyway, last lap of the entire qualifying session, the entire qualifying day. We're up by 6 tenths, and if this margin can hold, we will get into the fives as we go through the final corner. Not the greatest exit. I really struggle with the last corner sometimes. I feel like it's a bit awkward. Like, third gear doesn't really work, and I feel like fourth gear, you're bogged down a little bit too much. So there needs to be like gear 3.5 in order to make it through there. But anyway, we come across the line, and I think we did just dip into the fives once again, but not quite as competitive as the time I put in Q2. It's marginal, but with the track improvements, I feel like I should have gone faster. Lucas Weber gets pole, so he is in the box seat once again for this Brazilian Grand Prix, and we have it all to do in this race. So, yeah, if we... Alright, let's think about this. If Lucas Weber wins the race this weekend, we need to get P5 or better. If we get P6, I believe we will lose the championship lead heading into the final race. So, you know, realistically, if we want to take the fight into Abu Dhabi, at least with a little bit of margin, we need to get top 5. And give ourselves... I reckon we need at least like 7 points in order to feel at least somewhat secure heading into the last race. If it's anything less than 10 or 7 points, it's going to be very hard to bounce back in the championship with the, I don't know, the amount of advantage that Haas has at the moment. But it's crunch time now for the second last race of the season. Will we hold on to our lead?
As surely as the sun rises in the morning, the Brazilian Grand Prix packs out the grandstands and creates incredible drama. Title deciders, heartbreak, triumph and home glory. All these and more can be found in abundance here at the Autodromo José Carlos Pache. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Sergio Perez will lead us away from pole position, and starting alongside is Nico Hülkenberg. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Ricciardo, Day, Devon Butler and Bottas. Gasly, Weber, they've taken a grid penalty. Russell and Max Verstappen. Raikkonen, Vettel, Kevin Magnussen and Leclerc. Hamilton, Stroll, Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz. Albon and Daniel Kvyat completes the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Right, let's be patient going into turn 1. We want to be in a good position for the rest of the race. Good luck.
I don't really know what to say, to be honest. We have a lot of grid penalties for the start of this race, meaning that the Renaults are on the second row of the grid, and Lucas Weber, I think, is in P8 for the start of this race. So it's advantage Renault once again. We find ourselves in a very similar scenario to what we had last race, where we have track position, Lucas Weber is buried in traffic, and last time out, he got front wing damage. And he didn't get it off of me, I can promise you that. There was an incident where we touched, and it was on the side that he lost a bit of his front wing, but I was checking his front wing through replays and stuff, but he lost it later. Unfortunately, I didn't get the footage of who he lost it on, but it wasn't on me, I can promise you that. But Lucas Weber has to overtake many cars today if he wants to win this race, and again, he has to get through me. So let's see if he can be up to the task of climbing this mountain he's got at the moment to be with a chance of winning this championship. 5 red lights, and away we go for the Brazilian Grand Prix, second last race of the season, and it's a bit of a bogged down start for us, but thankfully this is one of the shortest runs into turn 1 on the entire calendar, so that means we literally lost nothing. No loss of position into turn 1 for one of the weirdest starts that I've had, one of the worst starts that I've had. To be more specific, AI starts this year are just absolutely ridiculous. That really needs to be sorted out, but you know, it keeps me on my toes. I need to get off to literally a perfect start in order to maintain position, so that's interesting. We're already seeing signs of the front right tyre overheating, so that's something we'll need to watch out for. We might switch on to the medium tyres a little bit earlier on in this race. No, we're actually going on to hards. So if we're going on to hards for the first time in a race strategy for the longest time, hopefully that means that we won't struggle for tyre wear as we go up the inside of Ricciardo into turn 1. And that is job done, is it? He's still hanging it in there, but I think we got the job done on the second part of the Center S's. And so we're onto the podium now for this Brazilian Grand Prix. So, yeah, when I was talking about the tyres, you know, if we're going to be running hards today, hopefully there's less tyre wear. I meant tyre wear. I didn't actually mean tyre wear. I meant tyre temperatures. Hopefully the hards have better resistance to heat, and it'll enable us to push a little bit more. We'll have to wait and see, but you can see Lucas, he's tucked up behind Daniel Ricciardo now, who is lost a position to one of the Alphas, interestingly enough, as now Gasly looks to put a move on me now as we head into turn 1. He's got really good straight line speed. Chassis is probably decent as well, but I'd say the aero of that car is probably the biggest letdown of Alpha at the moment. I could be wrong though, they could have a really good all-round package, at least it looks that way as they continue to march forward, but we get past Gasly once again on the straight. This is Lucas having a go at my teammate who got boxed in by Gasly, yeah? And so he didn't have the best run through there and loses a spot to Lucas Weber. So unfortunately, my teammate going backwards a little bit, but at least it looks like he's got some decent pace. That, you know, racecraft probably needs to be worked on a little bit, needs to, you know, make better decisions in order to, you know, not lose a position to, you know, a big rival like Weber. I need Ricciardo to be supporting me. He hasn't been supporting me at all in terms of this career mode campaign. He's either been way too slow, or when he is fast, he's been taking points away from me. So he's literally been the worst teammate in existence. Probably still as payback for what happened in China just a season ago. So perhaps not letting go of that grudge too easily. But you can see a replay of us here taking the esports line into the last corner. I got a little bit too eager with my apex speed heading into that one, completely ran wide and left myself vulnerable to Lucas. He goes up the inside now into turn 1. He's got really good grip in his tyres at this stage, obviously probably keeping him a bit cooler, and is able to push them or lean on them a little bit harder, and so it leaves us a little bit vulnerable. Speaking of vulnerable, doesn't get the greatest exit out of the center S's, and that was probably due to, oh my goodness, that's a big lockup. It was probably due to me, you know, covering off the racing line there, and yeah, left himself a little bit weak up against my teammate. But yeah, this is an interesting battle that is unfolding at the moment, just 1/3 into this race already. The top two being Sergio Perez and Nico Hulkenberg, absolutely running away with this race at the moment. They've got pretty sublime pace, and I'd imagine that Lucas, once he can get himself into clear air, he'll be able to unlock some of that pace as well, if not maybe even a bit more. Lap 12 now, and you can see our rival going back up the inside into turn 1. I slid out the tyres a bit there as I lent on them a bit too much under braking. Hopefully won't do that too many more times, but again, Lucas very weak on the exit of the center S's, and now Ricciardo slips by for P4 in this race, and Lucas has to go back to the drawing board. Hopefully, yeah, Pierre Gasly can get involved in the battle as well and can hold him up even further. But this battle is playing into my hands massively, because it's preventing Lucas from being able to win this race. So I know exactly what I'm doing. Even if, you know, Ricciardo gets by, even if Gasly gets by, if we can just, you know, hold up Lucas Weber for as long as possible and make the gap as big as possible, there's going to be little to no chance that he's going to get the full complement of 25 points. You know, if he gets P3, that's absolutely fine, because I could like literally get no points, and heading into the last race, I'll still be leading the championship. So our goal is really just to stop Lucas Weber from winning this race. Of course, I'm still going to try and do the best race I possibly can, but me holding up Lucas is more beneficial to my championship than trying to catch the leaders, if that makes sense. Even though I'm still trying to drive as fast as I can, that's not my end goal, but my, I guess, lack of pace versus the top two teams is kind of helping in keeping Lucas away from them. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, we rejoin on the circuit now. We're on our hard compound tyres. We just emerge in front of Alex Albon, and that is us up in a P12. Lucas stopped at the same time as us, and now he has to negotiate the Toro Rosso. He lost the plates to the Red Bull as well in the pit lane. So again, another car for him to negotiate. Ricciardo does the overcut onto the hard compound tyres, and he, if he's lucky, might be able to get in front of Lucas as well, as we cut back to him overtaking the Red Bull. Toro Rosso pulls into the pit lane, so a bit of track space opens up for Lucas now as he heads up the inside into turn 1. Max Verstappen doesn't really have too much to fight with. He's hanging it in there like he did with Esteban Ocon last year, where he lost the lead of the race. That was quite the tasty incident. But anyway, these two fighting away quite hard in the middle sector. I think Max actually comes out on top. So it's back to the drawing board once again for Lucas. Devin Butler is up next. Devin has just had a horrid season 2. He won a couple of races in season 1 with the Red Bull, but their development has just been nowhere this season. So he's been pretty frustrated, and I'd imagine he might be looking to greener pastures next season, knowing him like I do. He'll well and truly think he's better of a driver than what I am, and he'll definitely think he's better than Lucas, so it'll pain him no end to see both of us in a championship fight, knowing full well that he's got absolutely no chance of being in the same contention in the team that he's in at the moment. But meanwhile, Ricciardo and Lucas fighting hammer and tong into the middle sector. Lucas actually makes a bit of contact there, and Ricciardo was not happy about that one, so you might see the battle between these two get a bit heated now in the coming laps, but Lucas turns the engine up to 11 and soars right past my teammate again and back up in a P5. Butler pits, promoting us back onto the podium now, and with 13 laps to go, it looks like it's going to be a bit of a shootout between myself and my main rival, former teammate, Lucas Weber, for the final spot on the podium. So, yeah, I mean, even if Lucas gets us here, he'll only gain 3 points on us in this race. Maximum of 4 if he can get the fastest lap as well. But we'll try and push for that a little bit later if we can. Again, side by side for these two. Ricciardo coming back at Lucas Weber. So finally, Ricciardo is stepping up to the plate, and I'm hoping that he can continue to keep the pressure on for the dying laps. I think I've got a gap of about 2 or 3 seconds at the moment by virtue of the undercut that we pulled off, and Lucas having to overtake other cars around him. He lost a bit of time to us, but again, the pace just doesn't quite seem to be there versus the Haas's, so I think it may be inevitable if Weber gets back in front and stays in front, that he's going to close the gap again, and it looks like he's actually doing that, as Ricciardo just hasn't had a chance to come back at Weber, and now Weber has been putting in some really solid lap times and is looking pretty threatening now in the dying laps of this Brazilian Grand Prix. Here he is in the slipstream of us. We're going defensive to make sure that we can hold the inside heading into turn 4. He's going to have to go the long way if he wants this one, and he certainly does that. Turn 4, a little bit of a squeeze. We didn't mean to squeeze him that much. We go up on the curb and we lost the back end ever so slightly, but heading up to the double right-hander, we must make this move stick around the outside, and we just about hold on, but we had to take the corner cutting warning in order to keep the place. But it's getting tense now in the final 4 laps of this Brazilian Grand Prix, now going back to the esports line. I wasn't really doing that in the mid part of the race, but now I'm having to resort to that to just squeeze a little bit more performance out of the car to get a slightly better exit out of the final corner. Yeah, again, the Haas is very, very potent in the straight line with the slipstream, with the DRS. I'm just utilizing everything I can in order to stay in front at the moment. I'm willing on Ricciardo to, again, have another go at my former teammate, but he seems to be losing touch with us at this stage, so it's going to be a 1v1 fight for the final 2 laps of this race. Weber goes around the outside again into turn 1. This time he makes it stick, and he is through for the final spot on the podium in this Brazilian Grand Prix. Crap. We need to get this guy back. We're going to stay on board for the rest of this race, and we're going to see if we can get back in front of him. I've literally got no battery left. Fuel consumption today has been absolutely sublime. We literally can't burn any fuel, for love nor money, so that's interesting. So I'm just going to leave it enriched for the rest of the race, and the battery is going to be the thing that we manage throughout the rest of this race. A bit of slipstream now on Lucas. We could dive up the inside, and I think we will. No, he outbrakes us heading into turn 1, so that is, wow, scary. He's got a lot of confidence in his tyres. He's been saving them up quite well, despite battling throughout the entirety of this race. He has really put himself in a good position to have something still left to fight with at the end of the Grand Prix, which is absolutely amazing for the consistency of that car. But yeah, we're running out of opportunities now in this race. You can't really overtake in the middle sector, not unless you've got an amazing car downforce-wise. We've set the car up for mid-levels of downforce, so just to have a good all-round package. So I think it's going to be a little bit hard to, get close enough to dive him in the middle sector. It's going to have to come down to maybe the final corner or the run up to the line, like literally a drag race. So again, we're going to have to utilize all of the track here, use the esports line to its entirety. Fourth gear, nice exit. Sergio Perez wins the Grand Prix. But looking at the gap between us and Weber, I don't think it's going to be enough. He's going to get away with a podium in this Brazilian Grand Prix. 3 points is the gain. Could have been better, but could have been worse.
Well done, good finish. You stepped up and achieved what we asked. Good job.
It looks like it's time once again to hand out the silverware as the successful drivers make their way to the podium. It was a gritty performance today by Williams, and they've got the race win to prove it.
Yes, they do. Sergio, oh man, he must be hoping that this is a 30 race season because, Williams have come on really strong in the last couple of races. I think Weber might have, fumbled the bag a little bit when it comes to managing his engine components and getting through the traffic here and there in some races lately. Sergio has been picking up the pieces. Hulkenberg has always been there at the front, but doesn't have the pace naturally as a driver that Sergio seems to have at the moment. And I bet Perez will be kicking himself somewhat that Williams didn't get themselves into gear a little bit earlier on in this season. But regardless, I think it's been a good day today at the Brazilian Grand Prix. This could have been a much, much worse result. I was expecting Haas to run away with this one, given that Lucas did get pole position. Thankfully, he had a grid drop for this race, started P8, had to work his way through the field. He overtook so many cars. He was fighting away with my teammate for the longest time, fighting away with one of the Red Bulls. There was Pierre Gasly in the mix there at some stage, got undercut by a couple of people. And it's just, he did really well in the end to really fight back like he did. Still beat us in the race, which is concerning, but we still have enough of a buffer over him that I'm feeling a lot more relieved, a lot more confident heading into the finale in Abu Dhabi. So it's still going to be a very tough contest, especially if Lucas is racing at the front in the finale. There's no guarantee that we're going to have amazing pace in that race, but I don't know. I'm just really relieved that we still have the championship lead that we do, and we still have something to fight with heading into the last race. But resource points, we got nearly 1,500 of those. I've seen your comments, and I've recognized the weaknesses of the car. We certainly need to work on the chassis side of things. We're going to go for brakes because we're really struggling for stopping power, and I really do feel that hurts us at slow speed corners. We've done a few weight redistribution upgrades, but I feel like with brakes, we'll upgrade those, and hopefully it'll help with the lockups, so we can run a bit more brake pressure, and maybe that'll help the tyre temps. Who knows? But in terms of our, getting the most out of the car at slow speed, I feel like, that's got to come down to setup. So I'm definitely going to do a lot of homework heading into Abu Dhabi. I'm probably literally going to bring about 5 different setups to the table, and I'm going to test all of them and see which ones work and which ones don't. I have been running with time trial setups, so that's, probably not the best thing to do, but at this stage, I'm just going for, whatever setup is fast. Sometimes it'll burn the tires, but I feel like I'm getting a decent handle on what to do with the car now at this stage of the career mode. But guys, that has been this episode of career mode for today. That was tense. Really, really tense. Again, I'm really glad that we've limited the damage that Haas have done heading into this race. But we're now going to move on to Abu Dhabi, and I don't normally do this. I'm going to show you what the upgrades are looking like for not only my team but for everyone else heading into the finale. So welcome to Abu Dhabi. This is going to be a teaser for the finale next time out. We have all of our upgrades actually go on the car. So we're going to get the brake upgrade, and we're also going to get the rear downforce upgrade that we've been so longing after for the last 2 races. But now we're going to move on to the performance index. We can see Haas is now the fastest team once again on that mini performance update. We're going to scroll across to the actual R&D screen. And you can see that Haas have made the biggest upgrade in the biggest upgrade in F1 history. That is like literally nearly a 100-point gain in terms of the performance index. They shoot to the best car. That's got to be at least an ultimate upgrade and probably either a second ultimate upgrade or 2 majors on top of that. They are looking very, very likely to take the win at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. It's just going to be a case of will it be Hulkenberg or will it be Lucas Weber? Judging by Hulkenberg's, lack of pace so far this season in that car, you've got to say that if Lucas finishes the race, he will win the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix without a shadow of a doubt. Alfa Romeo improved their car as well. Ferrari improved. Red Bull stay the same. We improved somewhat, but it's not going to be enough in order to contest with Haas this weekend. So our goal heading into the final race of the season is to be best of the rest in order to win this championship. So that's the scenario heading into the last race. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to see plenty more racing game content. My voice is gone, and I need to do lots of maths and lots of research heading into the last race in order to have the absolute best package possible if I want to win this championship. So let me know down in the comments who's going to win. Will it be Lucas? Or will it be myself? Or will it be... God, will it be a tie? Who knows? See you next time.